Oh my goodness, so this is one of the rare times where a video topic that we end up discussing becomes a bigger thing after that video comes out. Now, correlation does not equal causation. I'm not trying to imply that, hey, because we made a video talking about the Vancouver Canucks and the second overall pick from the Devils yesterday, everybody is now talking about that because of my video. That's not what I'm saying here. I'm just saying that after we uploaded our video talking about the Canucks potentially making a trade for second, this topic really started to pop off on Canucks radio, or not Canucks radio, but Sportsnet 650 radio, Canucks Twitter, Canucks social media. This second overall conversation is a lot more bigger than I thought it was when we made our video yesterday, and it's kind of shocking to me to see that. Earlier yesterday, there was an even bigger segment on the radio after we published our video saying, hey, could the Vancouver Canucks trade for the second overall pick with the New Jersey Devils? Dan Riccio and Satir Shah talk about it on air. And I saw that and I was like, oh, okay, so that's really like a thing now. I guess we kind of beat them all to the scoop, so pat myself on the back for that one. But let's say, for all intents and purposes, the Vancouver Canucks, they do it. They get second overall. How they do it, I don't care. The fact is they have a pick. I wanted to focus on who the Canucks could probably take, because when it comes to what Jeff Marek said on the latest episode of the 32 Thoughts podcast, we might have ourselves some indicator as to where the Canucks' sights might actually lie. Marek on 32 Thoughts says they asked prospect Juraj Slafkovsky about playing center. He has played center before. He responded that a few teams have asked him if he would be able to play center at the NHL level. The two teams he named that asked him were New Jersey and Vancouver. As we know, the NHL Draft Combine is going on, so teams, executives, media people, they're all over there in the prospects' faces, asking them questions about everything. They're asking them questions about their play. They're asking them questions about the NHL. They're asking them questions about the other questions they've been getting. And that's what they did with Slafkovsky. Hey, can you play center? He said a few teams have asked him already that. And he said Vancouver and New Jersey were those teams. Now, the reason this is a big deal is because, well, okay, you don't need me to tell you why. This is what Friedman said. He wonders why Vancouver would even ask. They're picking 15th. Slafkovsky won't be there. Marek suggested the idea that maybe the Vancouver Canucks move up. And Friedman responded by saying, thinking emoji. So, Slafkovsky is a really interesting name. This is a player that, as we noted in previous scouting report videos, he's 6'4". He's a big dude, but he's a winger. And he's a guy who, in the SM Liga, did not produce at nearly the same rate as some of the other SM Liga prospects to draft-eligible players before. Capo Kakko, Patrick Laine, Puljujärvi, you have other guys at the top of their drafts like Barkov and Lundell. Slafkovsky was nowhere near the realm of these players when it came to point production in the SM Liga. He had 10 points in 31 games. Thing is, though, he absolutely exploded at the World Under-18s, he exploded at the World Championships, and he exploded at the Olympic Games. And all these tournaments have boosted his draft stock so much into showing off to scouts what this guy could be at his very best. Now, what he has been at these tournaments was a lot different than what he was with the SM Liga's TPS Turku team, but there still is a long-term projectability with this prospect. I said it a few times. I do think that if Slafkovsky pans out to his ceiling, he could be a discount Rick Nash. Despite the fact that he's big, he's not a power forward guy who's going to go out there and just body check everybody and take boarding penalties. He's a lot more of a skill finesse player that plays very well with the puck on his stick. He's good along the boards. He's good at making plays. And because of the sky-high potential, he is a consolidated ranking of third overall. The highest ranking over here on Elite Prospects is Sportsnet, they have him at third, and the lowest one is McKean's, they have him at 7. So this is, for all intents and purposes, a top 5, top 4 pick, pretty much, and it's gotten to the point now where even New Jersey Devils fans at second overall are saying, hey, we could probably take this guy. The center argument, though, is interesting. As we noted, Slafkovsky has been a left winger the entire time. He's been playing with TPS and for all these different versions of Team Slovakia. Seeing him make the transition to center would be a big shift from what he's been used to the past few years, but he did say that he thinks he could actually do that. Cam Robinson, a scout for Elite Prospects, was also asked about the Slafkovsky to center argument, and he said, I was asked this early in the season. I could see Slafkovsky moving to the middle. He's a handler who plays his best with the puck on a stick, not something that a winger does often. That said, he has played virtually no center in the last 3 years. So, yeah. It is just really interesting to me, though, the fact that the Devils and the Canucks are the two teams that have asked this guy, hey, can you play center? Do you think you could do that? We know you play wing, but you want to try the center position? For New Jersey, it's especially interesting because this is a team that, as we have noted, they've already had some pretty good center drafts over the past few years. Obviously, Hughes and Hischier being the 1-1 is amazing. And your second overall pick this year, if you take Logan Cooley, there you go. That's another potentially top-line caliber center. For Slafkovsky, though, if you really wanted to say, okay, let's take Slafkovsky and move him to center as well, if this guy is able to really control the middle of the ice in the same way he's controlled the perimeter throughout the past few tournaments he's played, then you could be getting yourselves an absolute gem of a hockey player. Maybe a player who's a little bit more straightforward than a Quinton Byfield, but not as skilled as that guy is, if he does pan out. Now, for Vancouver, it's especially interesting because, I mean, look, if you're going to lose out on JT Miller and you're going to replace those minutes with somebody else, I mean, look, Bo's already on the team, Petey's already on the team, they already have their own responsibilities. If you're going to have another center taking the reins of what a JT Miller has, I could understand them asking some of the top prospects of this year's draft, hey, center? You want to play center? You can do center? But of course, it's only appropriate to ask that question if you even have any intention of putting yourself in a position to potentially draft that player in the first place. And as Elliot Friedman noted, the Vancouver Canucks are not in the territory to draft Slafkovsky at all. This is a top 5 pick, and the Vancouver Canucks are picking at 15. So unless that New Jersey second overall JT Miller thing is what is actually going to happen here, there isn't really a productive reason for the Vancouver Canucks to have this conversation to Slafkovsky in the first place. Now, if you were to ask me personally, and the Vancouver Canucks were to jump up to second overall with the New Jersey Devils in a trade for JT Miller, would I personally want to draft Slafkovsky? I would probably say no. I would prefer taking a Logan Cooley because I do think that the likelihood of Logan Cooley fulfilling his potential is a lot higher than Slafkovsky's. However, I also would not discourage the idea of taking any of those top 2 right-hand defenseman players that are also at the top of the draft in Simon Nemec and David Jiricek. These two are also just fantastic players that could project into top 4 locks and potential top 2s if they really do pan out. And it's really difficult to put a price tag on that. Like for David Jiricek, for example, he's a guy that hasn't had the best season because he's been injured throughout the year. But this is a player who, if he pans out, he could be like a Moritz Seider 2.0. And if you get a player who is as good as Seider, and he's as skilled and refined and defensively responsible as Seider is, while also having point production capabilities, is that a second overall guy? Is that a 5th overall guy? Is that a 7th overall guy? It's tough to really say, right? So I do think if the Vancouver Canucks go to second overall, they're going to get a good player. But for Slafkovsky specifically, drafting him second above Cooley and Nemec and Jiricek and shifting him over to center, it's so ambitious that I don't think it would really be worth it. Like, if it works out, it works out. You have yourselves a big, powerful, skilled, strong forward at center who can score goals and make plays, but I really do like how Slafkovsky plays around the perimeter of the ice. I don't know how well his game would translate if you give him the responsibility of commanding the middle of the ice and the middle of the zone. Cam Robinson says that he's more open to the idea of Slafkovsky playing center, but I don't know, the guy hasn't played center in a long time, so it's going to be a pretty interesting transition if a team drafts him second overall and decides to put him there. It's happened before, like, don't get me wrong, Pierre-Luc Dubois was a guy that used to be a primary winger for the Cape Breton Screaming Eagles in 2015-16. We made a video talking about how Pierre-Luc Dubois was a really good winger back then, but that guy is now obviously a center, and he's a pretty good one at that. But the difference with Dubois was that he already had this two-way, responsible center side to his game back in the queue, and he did play some shifts as a center back then as well. So it isn't really the same here. You're taking Slafkovsky, who has only played left wing, and asking him to shift to a different position where he's responsible for more of the ice, and he's relied upon in different ways. So I'm really interested to see where it goes, but talk to me in the comments all your thoughts about both the Canucks and the New Jersey Devils asking this guy, hey, can you play center? Is it noteworthy to you how Vancouver is a team that's even doing that because they're at 15th overall? What are your thoughts on the Vancouver Canucks potentially moving up to second? If you hadn't already told me yesterday in the video we uploaded, then hey, let me know today, because this topic brings itself up once again now, doesn't it? I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.